This video is going to be covering how to clear Abyss. For this one, it's going to be floors 1 through 100. Most of the early floors are just auto battle, so I'm only going to go over the floors that can't be auto battled as easily. And also, after floor 100, I'll just be going floor by floor because floors 1 through 100, you do all of it with pretty much the same core of units. It's only a few units, you don't really have to do anything special. And also, I highly recommend checking out the Abyss Guide. The Abyss Guide here, which I'll have linked in the description, as pretty much all of the floors. It's just the text version of this, plus a few extra floors when I did this on a different account. I died on more floors than on this one, just because I had worse units before, so I'll have a bit more info on some of the floors in case you get stuck here, like 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, not 87, 89, 90. None of these are going to be in this video, but I do have them written out in the guide here. And then for all of the later floors, I'll be slowly filling it out. With past floor 100, it's just got various different links to different teams and whatnot. So, we can get into it, and starting off, I'm going to be showing you the gear that you should be using. Some of this is covered in the new player guide, but just in case. All of the early floors is just going to be Arbiter Vildred, and for Arbiter Vildred's gear, in the Path of Air, all the way at the beginning, it's going to take me a while to get back there, but the early game gear you use for Arbiter Vildred is just going to be the Ogre's Armory Destruction gear, not the farm Ogre's Armory, but it's just the gear that you get from the Path of Air missions here. So part 2, this chest, this sword, and then part 4, these boots and this helmet. Plus, if you go to Labyrinth in Terrell Castle, Area 3, this necklace, Area 4, this ring, that is your early game set. And that's going to push you through pretty much a good amount of the early Abyss. After that, that's when you start pushing the Hunt Challenge, you get gear for your Wyvern team, and then also, if you do the early Banshee Challenge, you can clear Banshee on normal with your Wyvern team, get this level 85 equipment, or level 85 speed set, and level 85 crit set. You can just max this out and put it on your RB, and then eventually you'll push Path of Air more. You'll get some of these destruction pieces over here, I think. A bit behind this. Yes, there's this destruction and crit set here. You get. I think there's another one earlier on too. There's a lot of free gear here, basically. So you can just use this gear to clear early Abyss and put it on your units. So I'll go through all of the units that I'll be using. First up is Arbiter Vildred. This is him on the Banshee Challenge gear. Whenever you're doing Abyss, you should change their artifact to Daydream Joker. So you'd want him on Daydream Joker like this. I'm not going to be using him, so we'll take this off for now. And then some of the other units we'll be using is, of course, Tamarinne. Tamarinne, if you have Magaraha's Tomb, give her that. This is just her free gear from Path of Air. You can put that on her, and she'll work fine for floors 1 through 100. Eventually, you'll pick up Brieg if you have Steadfast Gatekeeper. That's his preferred artifact. This is also just his gear from Path of Air. Works perfectly fine. We also have Commander Lorina, who you can give her the Golem gear. There's a Destruction plus Pen set in there. It's pretty much just this, if I remember correctly. You also get some more Destruction and Pen gear, so you can just mix and match. See which ones work well for you. Something like this. You would just give her this. And this will be your Commander Lorina, who just does a ton of damage on Daydream Joker, of course. And you'll just blast through all of the early floors. I'll also show her skill tree. Doesn't need too much. You're pretty much getting this attack, CR push, damage on S1, crit damage. This one you're just plus 1ing because you want to get to the big one here that increases her S3 damage by 20% against boss monsters, plus extra CR push on S1. Another unit we'll have is Iseria. Iseria, she's missing some gear right now, but you can kind of just give her... you might want to convert an HP neck for this, but you can just give her some bulk, some tank gear with a bit of effectiveness. You don't need this much. You can do 85 if you want, just to cover early expeditions as well. But early on in Abyss, I don't think you need more than like 65 or so, She's pretty easy to gear as long as you just get a bit of F pieces here and there. Like this F main ring from Lorina just covers it completely. And then you can use Song of Stars, you can also use Infinity Basket. Depends on floor you're fighting pretty much. There's also Kiris, who she doesn't need this much effectiveness. This is for a later floor. But the only floor you really use her on early is floor 102. You will be using her in a few floors later, and she's a 3-star, so very cheap to invest in. I think it's worth investing in her. And then for her artifact, you can either give her Proof of Valor to help her die less, or you can give her something like Warhorn for cycling. And then there is also Adventurer Ras. Who Adventurer Ras, you can give him either Aureus for the damage share to protect your teammates, or if it's a floor where he's tanking a lot, you can give him Steadfast Gatekeeper. Pretty much just give him the HP gear you get from Path of Air, just make him really tanky, and that's going to be good enough. We also have Mercedes, who I have on some Destruction plus Crit gear. This is the Ogre's Armory boot, just for the speed main stat. Same thing, switch your artifact to Daydream Joker, and just run her as a DPS with a little bit of speed. And then there is also Angelic Montmorancy, who, whatever HP gear you have left over, toss on her. Try to give her a bunch of F-res if you can. And then, if you have a second Magaraha's Tome, you can put it on her. Otherwise, you can give her a healing artifact like Rod of Amaryllis or Unfading Memories. So that should be it for all of the units we'll be using in the early parts of Abyss, floors 1 through 100. And now we can start taking a look at the runs through all of the floors where I had the manual. So this isn't a floor I had the manual, but says is typically most new players' first roadblock in Abyss. I'm still pretty early on with my gear, that's why you see me missing a bunch of crits here. But the thing with this floor is that Says punishes you if you use debuffs. If he starts his turn while debuffed, he'll heal a ton of HP, so you want to avoid debuffing him, prevent him from healing. That's why we have Commander Lorina, Arbiter Vildred with the skills off, since he has blind on his S3, as well as Mercedes. That's 3 DPS units with no debuffs. As long as you respect the mechanics, this floor is going to be pretty easy, and that's why, also, whenever you get stuck on an Abyss floor, you should take the time to read the skills, and just figure out what's going on in the floors. Eventually, once you hit at least 490-ish area, that's when you're going to have to start learning the mechanics, but for now, I'm going to show Arbiter Vildred S3 so you can see what happens when he takes a turn while debuffed. After Tamarinne moves here, you see it says healed a ton. So as long as you respect mechanics, this floor is easy. Floor 67, Terranor Royal Guard. This floor isn't particularly hard, but it does have a very funny mechanic. So we'll see coming up, Brieg just death broke Terranor Royal Guard, and Commander Lorina has attack buff, and she's gonna attack here, and she's dead. So pretty much the way this floor works is a portion of the damage you deal will be reflected, and that means that if you, for example, have attack buff and hit a death break, you're going to kill yourself, which is what happened to Commander Lorina there. So a couple ways to get around this. Arbiter Vildred can revive himself once, which would help. Mercedes, after clearing episode 3, would also revive herself, which helps. You can also just avoid death breaking him, just deal less damage over more time. Archie helps a lot, since Archie won't cause any damage reflect to pop up. And then there is also good old Kiris, who you don't really need until much later in Abyss, but if you really want to, you could whip her out here. So this floor is again pretty easy as long as you respect the mechanics, and you can just watch the rest of this as I 3-man it on auto.
진심을 다해야 이겠지. 무의미한 타락을 거듭할 수. 네 가치는 사실뿐이야.
So for floor 91, our team is just the usual Iseria, Tamarinne, Ras, Lorina. This floor has a unique mechanic where you can only damage Charlotte when she's debuffed, and she can only be debuffed by you killing these mushrooms. Every single time you take a turn, it'll label which mushroom does what. Decreased speed cannot buff. Red is attack debuff, and then purple is defense break. I would say the order you want to kill them in is I would kill yellow first, where they cannot buff, because Charlotte gives herself a random buff every single time she takes a turn. You can reset Tamarinne here. I would kill it yellow, then blue, then purple. One thing you don't want to do is make sure you never hit Charlotte with Iseria if you can help it. This is just because you can overwrite the debuffs on Charlotte with your own. And she also has a passive where if she's attacked while debuffed, she dispels all debuffs. The debuffs you get from killing these mushrooms are undispellable. Here, it can't be dispelled, but if Iseria overwrites the undispellable death break with her own, that can be dispelled. So you'll lose your debuff, or your defense break, if you actually hit Charlotte with Iseria. So you do want to be careful of that. So now we can kill this guy. And we can also kill this guy. Now she's got defense break. And I'm going to S1 first. Special for attack buff with a Iseria turn, we'll hit the mushroom instead, so we don't accidentally remove the defense break. We can S3 again. We've got some souls saved up from the first wave, so I'll use a soul burn here for extra damage. Oh, Ras also removes it. That's kind of annoying. There's not really any way around that, honestly. Because even if you used Brieg here, he would also remove it. You just take the damage while you can. Now we're going to kill off this mushroom before we head into the next phase. Also going to S3 just for the defense buff, because she's about to use her S3. We can kind of face tank it, because this is pretty old content, but... I'll also take the time to reset Tamarinne. Let's kill yellow again. I did not mean to one-shot it, I had attack buff, I guess. Usually, you try to kill blue before you... try to kill blue fast, just because each of these mushrooms can also debuff, and blue does defense break, but I can just soul burn here, and that'll also cycle off the defense break.
곁에 있을게요.
꼭 싸워야 한다면
So now let's whittle this guy down.
준비됐어요. 수행을 계속할 거예요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 무서워.
I'm gonna avoid hitting Charlotte with anybody that's not Commander Lorina just because she does get CR push every single time you hit her.
명을 따르겠습니다. 기절할 것 같아. 저리 가세요. 제 창이 여러분을 보호하겠어요.
좋아. 한번 해보자.
각오하세요.
Tamarinne's S3 is up already, so there's no point in resetting her.
눈 감으면 안 돼.
I'm also actually going to wait a turn before using it, because we're about to try to kill the mushrooms again anyways.
시작해 볼까? 쉽지 않을 거야.
함께 싸워요. 수행을 계속할 거예요. 야! 맹세합니다.
We can kill blue.
영원히 맹세요. 무서워. 제 노래를 들어주세요. 제때야. 반짝이는 진간의 근성을 보여드리죠. 제 노래를 들어요. 여기에요. 준비됐어요.
좋아. 한번 해보자고. 받아라.
함께 싸워요. 방패 기사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 나의 의지를 창끝으로 놔. 각오하세요.
Reset Tamarinne.
성령. 명을 따르겠습니다. 노래할게요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 곁에 있을
I probably should have held Commander Lorina S3
내가 지켜줄게.
because she would have had
제 창이
enough souls to soul burn it if I waited, but
자,
Charlotte's pretty much dead at this point.
눈 감으면
We're just going to go again.
제 노래를 들어주세요. 등장. 반짝이는
Pretty sure this kills her.
근성을 보여드리죠.
성의 힘을
Yep, and that's floor 91 done.
여기요.
Here we are on floor 92. This barrier they're talking about is in this passive. When Tywin drops below 70% and 40% HP, he cleanses all debuffs, then gets a barrier, and this barrier you can only damage it by using poisons from Kiris or Archie. 2 Archies destroys the barrier, or alternative, 1 Archie and 1 poison, so it's not too hard to break with this team comp that we have. Some other things to keep in mind: 1, this entire passive is not correct. This dispels all buffs from all enemies before making them unable to be buffed. Happens only when he's buffed, so I think this part should be up here. I have no idea what's going on with this all allies are unaffected by increases in damage proportional to yada yada yada, because I tried using Archie before and after he got buffed and it was the same, so I don't know what's going on. That is just a thing. It doesn't really matter that much because we don't really use buffs anyways. One thing that's important though is he starts with his S2, and his S2 dispels all debuffs from all allies, so we're not going to use Kiris S3 immediately. We're going to wait a turn, wait for him to blow his S2 first. We're also going to save Iseria S3 so that we can strip these buffs. Stripping the buffs is important mainly for his S3, where he'll only summon Terranor guards if he's below 40% or if he is buffed. So we also ideally want to get rid of the first barrier and have him use his S3 while he's not buffed and also not below 40% HP. So we can get started. We're going to reset Tamarinne again just to give her S3 back, and we can get started on Iseria's S2 cooldown. Lucky Poison land, we at least get 5% HP off him. Tamarinne S1 also acts as a strip, but 50% chance to miss, so it's not really reliable. There's a cleanse, and you can see the unbuffable now. We built up a good amount of souls on the first wave, but you have a good amount of time to start looping skills and generating souls as well here.
많이 아팠죠. 졸리지만 싸울 순 있어요. 눈 감으면 안 돼.
First gonna pop S3 again for the cycling.
들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 명을 따르겠습니다. 도와드릴게요. 저도 조금쯤은 도움이 되고 싶어요. 노래할게요.
So we want to keep an eye on his HP. This marker here is 70%. The next time he takes a turn, he'll drop below 70%, and then he'll take one more hit to drop him lower. Got one extra poison in there for fun. We're gonna hold our S3 for one more turn. And might as well reset Tamarinne here. So now we have 4 poisons. 1, 2, 4. That would get him down to here, which is also 40%. And you can actually just skip this entire phase, I'm pretty sure. We are just going to use... Well, Iseria's provoked, but Montmorancy has her S3, so we're just gonna wait a little bit. In hindsight, it probably would have been better for me to hit Tywin with my Kiris S3 into S1 before he dropped below 70%. But it's not too hard to kill him anyways. So now he is below the 40%. So the next hit we do on him is going to make him put up his barrier. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. One Archie. Landed all 3 poisons, and he is pretty much dead. He's like right there. We're pretty much done with this fight. Like I said, above 70%, I could have used Kiris S3 into S1, and we would have ended up at the same spot and pretty much just killed him straight up. Could have just used an Archie hit to do this final hit or something. That's something you can consider. If you get bad RNG on your poisons or something, you can do what I did. Either way, this floor is pretty much over now. We are just going to use Archie whenever it comes up. And that's it for floor 92. Here we are on floor 93. The important mechanics are just that. When Zerato's alive, Dominiel's immune to max HP damage, which just means Daydream Joker. And also, when you hit her, she has a 20% chance to activate her S1, 100% when she's debuffed. Importantly, her S1 transfers all debuffs inflicted on her, so it's kind of pointless to just try and brute force her with Death Break. We're just going to kill Zerato first, then we'll kill Domneil. And our only debuffer is Adventurer Ras, just because Iseria and Brieg both have debuffs, so we're pretty limited here. Some other good options for this floor, if you happen to have them built already, is somebody like Lorina is pretty sick, honestly, just because you're going to be having a good amount of counters. I did not mean to double click that, but it's fine. Focus down Zerato, and then we can kill him, and we can move on to killing Domneil, and then the fight is pretty easy once you're able to get Zerato down.
힘들고 무섭지만 포기하지 않을 거예요. 방패 기사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 도와드릴게요. 이제 괜찮을 거예요. 신사숙녀 여러분.
싸워야 한다면 쉽지 않을 거야.
준비됐어요. 제 차례 여러분을 구원해. 얼어붙어. 갑니다. 야, 무서워. 제 차례인가요? 많이 아팠죠? 지휘관의 근성을 보여드리죠. 모든 것을 잃어버리겠어.
좋아. 한번 해보자. 따라.
함께 싸워요. 얼어붙어.
We landed the debuff there, and you can see the transfer ended up being kind of funny. Debuff transfer only works when you actually land a debuff that you're transferring. Tamarinne resisted it, which I don't think is consistent because she doesn't even have 100 F-res, and these bosses should have at least a little bit of effectiveness. Though maybe in the Old Abyss they don't. Ras and Lorina have immunity though, so no chance for them to actually get stunned or transferred onto. And then Montmorancy has like 100, almost 200 F-res, so she cannot get debuffed either, which is kind of funny. Earthman only targets 2 people, so you can actually just kind of completely ignore the debuff transfer so long as our immunity stays up and Tamarinne does not get debuffed.
계속할 거예요. 같이 싸워요. 잠깐만요. 얼어붙어.
Yep, and there Tamarinne got debuffed, so not consistent, but having 3 people be able to dodge it is good enough. And plus, even if we do Death Break her and she counters, the Lorina's gonna hit into Death Break at least once before she's able to transfer it back. Either way, this floor is over, and we can move on to 94.
자주 도울게요.
For floor 94, we can actually just completely auto this floor with Mercedes, Ras, Montmorancy, and Tamarinne. So I'll let the fight play out and I'll explain some of the mechanics. You see, when Acid uses S3, he's gonna summon these little dudes around him, and at this point, he has permanent stealth that you can only get rid of by killing his clones. So we're gonna kill his clones using Mercedes, and you can throw in an Archie if you want, if you're willing to click on it. This is why we have Mercedes here as our main damage dealer this time. We're gonna need her AoEs in order to kill these clones. When he drops below 50%, he'll instantly use his S3 again, and now he has 4 clones, but we can just repeat the same thing. Mercedes S3 into S2 is going to kill the clones no problem. And of course, you can use Archie if you want to get a bit more damage in. But for now, we'll just let it play out, and you guys can see the rest of the floor.
자주 도울게요. 많이 아팠죠? 신사숙녀 여러분. 브레이저. 이제 괜찮을 거예요.
아들. 정화의 불길이여.
저리 가세요. 갑니다. 얍! 새 노래를 들어주세요. 반짝이는
쉽지 않을 거야.
갑니다.
준비는 되셨습니까? 각오하는 게 좋아.
갑니다. 저도 도울게요. 갑니다. 얍! 갑니다. 당신의 아픔을 제가 덜어드릴게요. 이제 괜찮을 거예요. 저리 가세요. 블레이저!
And that is it for floor 94. Nice and simple.
야! 무서워.
So for this floor, we've got Charles, and the first thing you want to do is just try to deal as much damage as you can in this first phase. So we're gonna do our whole combo.
명을 따르겠습니다.
S2's not up yet, so we can't reset Tamarinne just yet.
맹세요.
We can S3 for the death break.
내가
We
지켜줄게.
landed that. I'm not sure whether or not I'm able to just...
준비됐어요.
Yeah, definitely not possible with this gear.
내
I wanted to save the souls for Commander Lorina S2
여러분의
or S3 soul burn.
제 노래를 들어요.
Could be worth it to stack up more souls from the first wave.
방패기사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 안식을 드리죠.
Stack up more souls in the first wave. I was only a couple of souls off. Then we can actually soul burn Ras S2 there.
한번 해보자.
강이 등장. 반짝이는 수행이 계속할 거예요. 나는 이제 창끝 드러나 지휘관의 근성을 보여드리죠. 야! 맹세합니다. 기절할 것 같아. 제 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분.
싸워야 한다면
제 창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다. 반짝 빛날 거예요. 여기에요. 준비됐어요.
Honestly, if we farmed a bit more souls on that first wave, one Ras S2, or one more Ras S2, and he would be dead. We're just gonna kill him through the barrier. But let's talk a little bit about what his mechanics are. This is honestly a pretty cool fight, just a little bit wasted because it's so early on. Every time he uses S3, he's going to summon more people. First Diane and Basque, and then Crow and Corvus. And ideally, if you're doing this normally, and let's say you don't have the damage for some reason, you'd want to kill Diane first because Diane's gonna be healing him.
쉽지
But
않을 거야.
because we have so much damage now these days, we can just kill him through the barrier and it's fine. Also, do note that his S3 does dispel all debuffs from him.
여러분을 보호할 겁니다.
And after he uses S3 the first 2 times, he's not gonna keep on summoning more people. It's just going to give him stackable increased attack. So they're trying to prevent you from taking too long on this, but
준비됐어요. 수행이 계속할 거예요. 자,
not really gonna be an issue for how long we take at least.
검요. 안식을 드리죠. 무서워. 제 노래를 들어주세요. 노래할게요. 신사숙녀 여러분.
Yep, nice and easy fight. We just
각오하는 게 좋아.
pretty much run him over.
무서워요.
Definitely could have one-shot him before he used S3 if we farmed a little bit more souls there.
쉽지 않을 거야.
저도 도울게요.
This floor is another one of those full auto floors with Mercedes, Ras, Tamarinne, and Iseria. You can speed up the auto, of course, by using Archie during any dead turns. Dead turns just being unimportant turns if Bologna already has 2-turn Death Break. And Iseria is about the S1, then, of course, it's not that important for you to use Iseria S1, you can use Archie, or stuff like Ras S1 is also a dead turn for Tamarinne S1. So the way this fight works is just, she has all of these brooms, and when you kill a broom, you're going to cleanse all debuffs off of your team, plus you get defense buff. So those brooms pretty much act as our sustain, which is really nice. Also, when the brooms use their own S3, they'll heal all allies, so you definitely want to kill them, just so that they're not making the fight take forever. That's why AoE is really nice, and that's why Mercedes is going to be so good here. For Bellona herself, her S3 is an AoE Death Break, and while her S2 has a AoE Silence and debuff transfer, she also really hates ice units. She decreases her S3 CD by 2 or somewhere. When attacked by an ice hero, decreases skill cooldown of her S3 by 2 turns. So we definitely don't want to use ice heroes here. Montmorancy is still usable, technically, because we can just hit the brooms instead of hitting Bellona, and there won't really be any issues with her healing. You can see the little healing from the brooms here. Nothing super massive. It's something that we can definitely get away with just tanking. So that's, honestly, that's it for the floor, and you guys can watch the rest if you want.
여기.
And that's Bellona down.
계속할 거예요. 같이 싸워요.
Here we are at floor 97. One thing to note is that if you picked Spectre Tenebria as your ML Blessing unit, you can put in the DPS role, swap Iseria out for Montmorancy, and just turn it on full auto. There is no AoE in this fight except for this Red Mage's S3, so you're not going to be able to die. It's just straight up impossible to die if you have Spectre here. It's still pretty easy with Commander Lorina though. A couple things to keep in mind is, one, if you use Iseria S3 and he has 2 debuffs, he's going to just heal like almost all of his HP. It's a lot. So don't use Iseria S3. And then the main mechanic is just, we want to hit these guys here. Every time you hit them, their S3 cooldown goes down by 1. So this means that once they use their S3, which we can't see here, but once he uses his S3, he's going to give Violet defense buff, and Violet will give himself greater defense buff if he doesn't have defense buff already. So by doing this, you'll see here, he has greater defense buff now. Now after this guy uses S3, it's going to remove the defense buff, and or it's going to remove the greater defense buff and replace it with a normal defense buff that we can actually remove. And you can just kill Violet through the defense buffs, whichever version it is. But it's a little bit faster if we do it this way. Also, every single time somebody takes a turn and doesn't attack him, he gains CR. That's why he's not going to get any CR here. But when I use Tamarinne S3 later, I'm going to Soul Burn this for Death Break. When I use Tamarinne S3 here, now he's going to gain some CR. And he also gains CR when his allies move and they don't attack him, so those count too.
쉽지 않을 거야.
준비됐어요. 수행이 계속할 거예요.
Do this, and then
같이 싸워요.
here.
제 창이
So he resisted the strip.
겁니다.
It's fine though, because that actually isn't necessarily a bad thing. That might actually be a good thing that he resisted that.
싸움이요.
We reset Tamarinne here,
맹세로.
and then we go. So here he takes a turn, and now his defense buff is just gone. He won't be able to get it back until he takes another turn, which he's coming up on soon. So that is pretty much how the main mechanic works. You just want to burst him while the defense buff is gone. One thing to keep in mind, he's going to S3 next turn, so it's fine, but the turn after, he's going to S2, and S2, he gets an extra turn. So that'll instantly give him 2 turns, which you could use to manipulate the defense buff a little bit if you want.
준비됐어요. 지휘관이 근성을 보여드리죠.
So now I'm going to Soul Burn this.
수행이 계속할 거예요. 자,
And do that, and he's pretty close to dead at this point.
사승려 여러분.
That target buff that gets placed Can be a little bit rough if it hits your commander Lorina, is one thing to keep in mind as well.
눈 감으면 안 돼.
The Tamarinne S3 cleanse is going to be very nice here.
들어주세요. 제 노래를 들어요. 반짝이는
So we're going to try to hit this guy here twice.
여러분을 보호할 겁니다.
시작해 볼까?
Hit him one more time. So now he gives defense buff, and you can see he's in a S2 extra turn.
나랑 싸우는 영광으로 알라고.
And his defense buff is gone again. So we can't just soul burn this for the defense break because Violet's pretty close to dead now.
함께 싸워요.
Also, if you hit somebody that's immortal,
방패
they'll
기사는
counter.
물러서지 않습니다. 모든 것을 뚫어버리겠어.
So unfortunately with all the CR push, he gets his defense buff back,
한번
but
해보자고.
we can just kill him at this point, not too much of an issue.
됐어요.
That's that target buff annoyance sometimes, that'll just happen.
신사숙녀 여러분, 수행을 계속할 거예요. 기절할 것 같아요.
이 거말에 무릎 꿇게 해주마.
허무하게 지내고
잘 가라.
꼭 싸워야 한다면 그 어떤 운명도 나를 막지는 못해.
지휘관의 근성을 보여드리죠. 자,
And we're done.
물러서지 않습니다.
But here we are at floor 98. This is one of the more interesting floors. So we started off immediately with kind of bad RNG. Ideally, you want Lorina to not be the one silenced. We're just gonna use Tamarinne S3, we're gonna push up. When we can start looking at some of this stuff, it's just... Okay, honestly, all that really matters is you want to hit this thing with Lorina. But for now, we can just keep on hitting Angelic.
준비됐어요.
And he's actually like completely immune to defense break. So we're gonna hit this thing. Bomb's gonna move. And now we are just going to pretty much spam everything into Leo. Not too much to do here. Every time you hit the bomb, or every time you hit this thing, the bomb will move on to somebody else.
제 창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다.
There's no reason for us to not use this.
나의 기술지. 창 끝에는
He's pretty squishy.
물러서지
You're just
않습니다.
playing around the bomb mechanic, which is the hard part, and there is also some things that'll happen once he drops lower HP.
저도
For now, we're just kind of chilling.
도움이 되고 싶어요. 제 차례인가요? 갑니다. 얍!
꼭 싸워야 한다면
And nothing to do here, so I'm just gonna hit the bomb, or I'm gonna hit the crystal.
노래
It's on the Tama now, and we're silenced, so we just have to S1.
됐어요.
Bomb is back on Lorina.
지휘관의 근성을 보여드리죠. 야! 힘낼게요. 눈 감으면 안 돼. 저리 가세요. 이쪽이라고!
내가 지켜줄게.
수행을 계속할 거예요.
So we can... We have to be a little bit careful here, just because when its HP is 30% or less, he gets an extra turn and then uses his S3. Though it doesn't have any burn effects, it just removes 80 souls from everybody. So we're actually going to wait a little bit, just because my arena is such low HP. Not gonna rush it. It also removes all our souls, so I'm just gonna soul burn this for healing.
도와드릴게요.
시작해 볼까?
And we are silenced, so
지휘관의 근성을 보여드리죠.
and I think this is a good enough of a time to go for it.
뚫어버리겠어. 날아라.
And his extra turn supersedes mine.
방패 기사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 눈 감으면 안 돼.
And we can just go.
들어주세요. 제 노래를 들어요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 제 차례인가요?
So there's something that's supposed to happen here.
이제
I guess we're going to maybe just kill him before it
한번
happens.
해보자고.
So I'm going to redo this fight so we can see the thing that might happen sometimes, because we're not supposed to just kill him like that. So we're back here again, but we are about to get him below 30%.
준비됐어요. 날아라.
He's going to do the same thing where he does Big Boom, and you can see he removes the bomb that's left. And basically what happens is
많이 아팠죠?
we managed to kill him before he moved last time, which we're not going to get to do this time. His S3 is back off the cooldown, and it's when he uses this S3. Every single one of your characters has a bomb now, and you can either choose to tank the bomb, or if you just hit the guys here,
좋아. 한번
you can get rid of the bombs by hitting these things instead. And you have exactly 4 hits. Make sure you don't use any AoEs like Tamarinne's Idol S1. But you just hit every single crystal, and now all the bombs are gone. And
꼭 싸워야 한다.
yeah, that's pretty much it, and you can just finish off the fight as usual. Just one more hit and we're done.
지휘관이 근성을 보여드리죠.
And boom, that's it.
계속할 거예요. 눈 감으면
So here we are in floor 99, and this floor, just like floor 90, has 2 phases to it. Once we get Athena below 50%, she's going to transform into Ruel of Light. And this floor has some mild anti-debuff stuff that I usually just try and ignore. Only thing for Athena here is just she does a lot of things to somebody when she has her S2 up. This is in 3 turns. And you can either try and get one of these things a bit lower so that she targets them with S2, or you can just slam it into her and brute force the entire part.
사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 적을 섬멸한다.
You see she's getting CR because every single time
보여드리죠.
somebody that is debuff gets hit, she gets CR pushed.
노래할게요. 함께해요. 함께 싸워요. 제 창이 여러분을 보호할 거예요. 도와드릴게요. 많이 아팠죠?
시작해 볼까? 각오하는 게 좋아.
준비됐어요. 강이 등장. 반짝이는 갑니다. 얍. 소행을 계속할 거예요. 얍.
So yeah, we'll just be moving on to the second phase of the fight. So now we have Ruel and Judge Kisei. Judge Kisei, you can either try to kill her. I don't think you were meant to kill her when the floor came out, but you can try to kill her, or you can focus down Ruel while tanking Judge Kisei. Ruel's S3 is going to revive Judge Kisei anyways, and her S3 removes 20 souls, so we can't hold on to her souls for too long. The other stuff is her S2 dispels all debuffs and then grants increased attack and continuous healing for 2 turns. So you could also try and keep Judge Kisei low to make sure that Ruel's S2 is going into her. And the main mechanic for this floor is the power of Oath here. Every 5th attack suffered reflects 60% of the damage back to the attacker. I am going to opt to kill Judge Kisei. If we land Death Break, she dies pretty fast. There you can see the cleanse.
방패기 사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 최선을 다할게요.
Gonna heal Commander Lorina.
제가 덜어드릴게요. 제 차례인가요? 이제 괜찮을 거예요. 눈 감으면 안 돼. 저리 가세요. 지휘관이 근성을 보여드리죠. 어떡하지?
Also that S1 duels with Judge Kisei, which is kind of annoying.
쉽지 않을 거야.
준비됐어요. 무서워. 새 노래를 들어주세요. 제 무대예요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 힘낼게요. 제 창이 여러분을 여러분을 보호할 겁니다.
The Judge Kisane is dead now, but she will come back after Ruel uses her S3.
함께 싸워요.
내가 지켜줄게. 각오하는 게 좋아.
준비됐어요.
Oh, it did not keep count.
휘광이요. 영광이요.
Okay, after killing myself like 3 times, we are back here. And pretty much it's just, yeah, don't proc the reflect. You can't tank the reflect
제 차례인가요?
if you have only attack buff or only death break on Ruel. You're probably not going to be able to tank it with both. That sleep is always nice because it lets us just focus down Ruel a little bit. Prevents the counters from proccing.
됐어요. 여신이요.
Now she has the reflect. So we're just gonna hit Kisei instead.
갑니다.
One's here.
꼭 싸워야 한다면.
Gonna use this to remove the reflect.
방패기사단은 물러서지 않습니다.
And we can hit Ruel a couple more times.
새 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분, 최선을 다할게요.
See if we can sleep her. Nope.
한번 해보자고.
Which is fine. I'm just gonna hit her a little bit, trim her HP down for later.
제 창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다. 잠깐만요. 강의 등장. 함께해요. 준비됐어요.
We're at 3, so this is 4. Next hit will proc the reflect.
도와드릴게요. 이제 괜찮을 거예요. 빛날 거예요. 반짝이는.
내가 지켜줄게.
And I am going to not proc Issei's counter this turn, just because she's gonna S3 next turn, so we want to not be at 1 HP.
제 차례인가요?
Also gonna pass immunity over to Lorina just in case.
하지만 포기하지 않을 거예요. 눈 감으면 안 돼. 라라라.
That's 3, so we have to be careful with dual attacks now.
힘낼게요.
And I'm actually just going to hit her once.
나의
좋아. 한번 해보자고.
제 창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다. 가릴게요. 기절할 것 같아. 랄라. 포기하지 마세요.
So now she has this big barrier plus speed buff.
도와드릴게요. 갑니다.
I'm gonna keep on healing a little bit.
시작해 볼까?
See if we can strip the barrier, which we did.
방패기사단은
Unlucky dual attack,
물러서지
but we had the solitude barrier, so it's fine.
않습니다. 자, 무서워.
One more turn for us to get our Tamarinne S3.
최선을 다할게요. 여신이요. 눈 감으면 안 돼. 새 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분.
싸워야 한다면. 각오하는 게 좋아.
준비됐어요. 지휘관의 근성을 보여드리죠.
Okay, I did not mean to fully kill her there, but it's fine.
제 차례인가요?
This just lets us focus down,
많이
Ruel.
아프죠? 여기에요.
and we can completely ignore the thing about
기사단은
Issei
물러서지
counters.
않습니다.
I have no choice but to hit Ruel here. It's fine though, because she wasn't death broken. That's one of the reasons you leave Issei alive too, so you can actually just hit Ruel
되고 싶어요.
if you're forced to hit to reflect.
지켜줄게. 쉽지 않을 거야.
준비됐어요.
That's 3.
창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다.
And then I'm not going to soul burn here, because if I soul burn, that'll be 4, then 5. We're just going to use S3 by itself.
적을 섬멸한다. 노래할게요. 반짝이는. 힘낼게요.
You might as well get rid of the reflect.
5계절의 정령들이여
Can you give Lorina defense buff just in case?
수행을 계속할 거예요. 야. 어떡하죠?
There's not really any point in hitting Kisei while that barrier is up, so
도와드릴게요. 갑니다. 야, 무서워. 저리 가세요.
시작해 볼까?
I'm going to hit Kisei a couple of times again.
함께 싸워요. 오라라. 제 창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다.
Now the barrier is gone. We're at 3.
눈 감으면 안 돼. 새 노래를 들어주세요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 힘낼게요.
If I hit her, it'll be 4. Instead, I'm going to hit Kisei.
방패기사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 모든 것을 밀어버리겠어.
This is 4.
좋아. 한번 해보자고.
And can I afford to tank a hit from Ruel S2 is the question.
준비됐어요. 여신이
We're just going to kill her, I guess.
새 노래를 들어요. 함께해요. 함께 싸워요.
Normally, we want to make sure that Ruel S2 goes into Kisei so that she's not healing herself. But we had Tamarinne S1 to strip it, so it wasn't really a huge deal.
할게요. 이제 괜찮을
And
거예요.
she's about to revive again, but we can get a little bit more of burst in before she does that.
내가 지켜줄게. 쉽지 않을 거야.
준비됐어요. 방패기사단은
It was
물러서지
good that I did not defense break there, or my Lorina would have killed herself.
않습니다. 야. 류엘은 맹세합니다. 기적이 일어날 거예요. 제 차례인가요?
I think she spawned Kisei in a different position this time. Interesting.
힘들고 무섭지만 포기하지 않을 거예요. 무서워. 그러니까 갑니다. 제 창이 여러분을
Again, it's just I'm gonna wait for that barrier to run out, or I'm gonna strip it.
꼭 싸워야 한다면.
Let's get defense buff. Keep the count again. We're at 3.
도와드릴게요. 서둘러 함께 싸워요. 수행을 계속할 거예요. 자, 도와주세요.
So as long as Kisei is alive, the Ruel S2 goes into her.
새 노래를 들어주세요. 반짝 빛나셔요. 소녀 여러분.
내가 지켜줄게. 각오하는 게 좋아.
준비됐어요. 제 창이
We were at
여러분을
3.
보호할 겁니다.
This is
최선을
to reflect.
다할게요. 많이 아팠죠? 제 무대예요. 벽이에요. 함께 싸워요. 방패기사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 날 부지리 창끝 들어놔. 제 차례인가요?
좋아. 한번 해보자고.
And this we can just
준비됐어요.
tank to reflect with Ras. Tamarinne got stunned, but this should be the end of the floor finally.
야, 힘낼게요.
Here we are at floor 100. The main thing for this floor is it doesn't show in her skills anywhere because this is just her phase 1. She has 3 phases, but in her second and third phase, she has a passive where if you hit her with a non-critical hit, her debuff durations will decrease by 1, which isn't the end of the world. You can get around it. I'm not regearing. I'm just going to hit her, and we'll be able to kill her fine. But if you want to give your Ras and your Iseria 100% crit chance, that can make this fight a little bit easier. Besides that, though, let's just get into it. This first wave is a bit different in that we're not going to stall like we normally do. We're just going to run at this guy, and we are going to kill him. That's just because he has a passive where when an ally dies, he decreases his skill cooldowns by 3 turns and gets 50% CR, and his S3 deals 99% of your HP as damage, which is just going to straight up kill you. So we are going to kill him before that happens. Also, these mushrooms, when they explode, they kill themselves, which procs his S2, which I just died to. So, definitely try to kill him fast. We don't have to like rush it, he's pretty squishy. We just won't have enough time to farm a bunch of souls on this stage.
각오하세요.
꼭 싸워야 한다면 도와줘.
같이 가요. 무서워. 방패 기사단은 물러서지 않겠어요. 여기 따르겠습니다.
좋아.
So we're pretty much fine. We'll be able to move into the next part without any real issues here. They're exploding on their next turn, so this is about when you want to have him dead. We'll kill him, and let's move on to APOC.
눈 감으면 안 돼.
So just start off by hitting APOC, and we'll enter the first phase.
지금이 동료가 널 기다리고 있어.
This is the Wyvern phase, and Iseria is not really doing too much here, just because the boss is Earth. We'll be relying on a Ras S2 Soulburn for our Death Break.
준비됐어요. 수행이 계속.
So get him below 70% HP, and you'll be able to enter his first barrier phase, where he puts up his barrier, and then you just have to break this barrier. If you don't break it, then he does the classic Wyvern Tail Swipe. That's going to do a bunch of damage. Tail Swing.
안식을 드리죠.
So let's just, we'll reset Tamarinne first, and we can hold on to this area skills.
시작해볼까?
Her Death Break's not going to be reliable for us at all.
함께 싸워요. 제
Even if you don't land Death Break with Ras,
겁니다.
you should have enough damage just with Commander Lorina, and then also Tamarinne S1.
날 거예요. 함께해요. 준비됐어요. 방패 기사단은 물러서지
Yeah, no Death Break, and we're pretty much broken the barrier anyways.
내가 지켜줄게.
And I'm actually going to not use S2 here. We're just going to save the 10 souls.
제 노래를 들어요. 신사숙녀 여러분. 지휘관이 근성을 보여드리죠. 자, 곁에 있을게요. 무서워.
꼭 싸워야 한다면
수행을 계속할 거예요. 맹세. 기절할
And then this will get us into the next phase. Now on the second phase, these guys have passives. The yellow one reduces your healing, and then the second one, or the purple one, reduces your CR pushes. For this part, we're just going to ignore them, and we're going to try to just burst down APOC.
창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다. 나의 창 끝으로 곁에 있을게요. 눈 감으면 안 돼. 제 노래를 들어주세요. 제 무대예요. 반짝이는
You can see Tamarinne S3 did not push nearly as much there because of the passives on these guys. You can also see the Death Break went down because Ras missed his own. And then the this passive here, when the caster suffers a non-critical hit, decreases debuff durations by 1 turn. So she also gives herself crit res buff when she uses S2, which, or I guess right now it's her S3, but this will also reduce your chances to crit. But we have enough strip with Tamarinne Idol S1 and Iseria
지휘관이 근성을
S3 that it's not really a huge issue.
맡길게요. 안식을 드리죠. 검이요. 각오하세요.
내가 지켜줄게. 각오하는 게 좋아.
준비됐어요. 노래할게요.
The reduction on the debuffs duration only happens like on debuff that are already on her. So even though Ras missed the crit there, it was fine. Also, she got a heal buff there, a little bit unfortunate on the timing. I should have hit one of the ads there. She gets that every 5 hits you hit her with a non-crit. Normally you'd be able to just strip it, but because she was about to take her turn, she just got it for free.
시작해 볼까? 쉽지 않을 거야.
함께 싸워요. 지휘관이 근성을 보여드리죠. 내 창끝이 적을 섬멸한다. 맹세합니다. 들리나요?
I'm just gonna hit one of the ads. Not too much point in hitting APOC right now.
준비됐어요. 각오하세요.
So below 70% is where she'll enter her third and final phase. Now we have these guys who are they're pretty much just stronger versions of the other ones. Their reduction effects are a little bit larger as well. And we're actually going to try and kill these. Let's start off with the one that reduces our... Let's do the healing one first.
함께 싸워요. 제 창이 여러분을 보호할 겁니다. 신사숙녀 여러분.
Usually I would go for the CR push one first, but Ross was kind of low, so I wanted to go for the healing one first there.
꽃의 맹세. 안식을 드리죠.
You could also opt to leave this guy alive, so that you don't have to... You have somebody to hit instead of hitting APOC if your units are 100% crit chance, but I'm just going to kill him.
준비됐어요. 귀찮아. 사라져. 기절할 것 같아. 제 노래를 들어주세요. 등장. 반짝이는 수행이 계속할 거예요.
You can see barely any CR push was gained there. Now he's dead, and our CR pushes will be back to normal. And I'm going to soul burn here, just because APOC S3 removes 20 souls anyways. So might as well use up the souls while I still have them. Lucky crit on Ross there. Let me keep Death Break on because he missed his own Death Break anyways.
지휘관이 근성을 보여드리죠. 모든 것을 잃어버리겠어.
내가 지켜줄게. 쉽지 않을 거야.
함께 싸워요. 맹세합니다.
If you got her heal, it's fine. We can just DPS her through it.
방패기사단은 물러서지 않습니다. 고통을 즐겨라.
So when she uses S3, you'll see our souls go bye-bye. And then also, she revives one of the little dudes. We can just kill said little dude, and then we'll go back to doing what we were doing.
안식을 드리죠.
좋아. 한번 해볼까?
I have no souls, but I'm just gonna hit him anyways.
준비됐어요. 눈 감으면 안 돼.
That silence is a bit annoying. If it lands on your Tamarinne, you won't be able to use Tamarinne skills for a bit. But you can just kill the one that applied the debuff, and it'll get removed.
수행이 계속할 거예요. 같이 싸워요. 맹세합니다.
So here, let's take a look. He's about to use S2, but if I use Iseria S3 here, it's just going to get stripped anyways, or it's going to get removed because Tamarinne and Roth are both non-crits, so we're just going to S1, we'll strip it on the turn after.
함께 싸워요.
꼭 싸워야 한다면.
And here I don't have S2, so we'll just use S3.
내가 친히 벌을 내려주지. 제 창이
And she's got her crit res buff, we'll aim to remove this Iseria, or
각오하세요.
you can do that. And we'll S3 here.
맹세.
The Death Break plus hopefully the Unbuffable should block the heal buff that's going to come in soon.
신사숙녀 여러분.
시작해 볼까?
Or we could just keep on critting her.
않습니다.
But at this point, she is dead. And that's all the way through floor 100. That is it for the Abyss Guide, floors 1 through 100. In the future videos, we'll be going through the remaining floors one by one, as well as Challenge Abyss eventually. Also, you can check out the written Abyss Guide if you want to see some of the links that I already have from other people's runs for the future floors.